the big important. Yes, there we go. Is in progress. Okay, it looks like we have a quorum. We have 4 people out of 7, so that should take care of it. We've got Deb Zernecki and Howard and myself and Dave Kelsey. Let's see, Deb, do you think you could take notes for us?
Okay, I will.
So I just sent out some emails to people asking if they were coming, but I hadn't heard back, but Deb is here, so that's good. But I think it's going to be a small group. We also have Doug Lowell here, who's an interested party who's wishing to join our committee, and Kate Hewitt from the CT Examiner. So we have a few extras.
Edie, who else is there from the committee? You, me, Deb?
You, me, Howard, and Deb.
Okay, great.
So 4 out of 7. So I think that's enough.
Yeah.
So let's call this meeting to order. It's October 14th at 7 p.m. The Halls Road Improvements Committee meeting. First we need to approve the August minutes. We didn't have a September meeting because we didn't have enough folks coming to it. So did anybody get a chance to read the minutes?
I wasn't there, so I'll abstain.
Okay, Howard?
Make a motion to approve them.
Okay. So I guess I can second that because
Right.
we were the only people at that meeting, so. I was hoping that Ray would come, but I can talk to the first piece in this agenda, which is the zoning committee subcommittee meeting. We had a presentation on Tuesday to the zoning committee of the rezoning request from the town of Old Lyme that Tim Griswold submitted. And it went very well. We had a long wait to get to it, but once we got on board, we had a good meeting. The zoning committee was very receptive, didn't have a lot of negative comments. They had questions, which we were able to answer to their satisfaction. Actually, I think CT Examiner followed up the story pretty well. We had a couple comments from the audience, and the meeting will be continued next. What's it called? The
Public hearing.
public hearing will be continued in November 18th. So is it the 18th or the 8th? It's the 8th, right? Yeah. So at that point, there were some questions that the lawyer had, but they thought that he should talk to Dan and have Dan give those to us, and we would have the BSC review the comments and go from there. So that's pretty much all I can say about the zoning meeting.
Now,
Anybody?
Edie, were the zoning committee members, were they presented with a final draft of the zoning regs for the Halls Road Village District?
Yeah, that's what we shared with everybody.
Yeah, so the final version, did you share those with us? You shared in
Yes, I
July.
did.
You shared-
Yes, we did. We sent them around to everyone. When we filled out the full application, it was sent around to the entire committee. I did go back and look into our minutes, Dave, based on your earlier comment this afternoon. There was never a requirement to have a vote on those notes. The intention was for people to read the zoning language and then make comments. And Howard made a comment, but other than that, I got no other response, and that was 2
Yeah,
months.
no, I did the same. I guess what I would say is that if you're doing such a significant change, what I had said in July was I would have expected that the proposed language would come out of the subcommittee as a recommendation, and then that the Halls Road Improvement Committee would have made its recommendation to the town prior to it assuming the application to the zoning board. Because right now people are under the assumption that the Halls Road Improvement Committee has officially approved what's being presented. And, you know, mea culpa, and I did see in your July, you said, if anyone has any comments, give them to me, or, you know, let me know if you approve of them. I don't think that the committee or the subcommittee has officially approved of them, which is water, you know, under the bridge. But it is important to note that these are very, very restrictive regulations. And my fear is that you're going to get into zoning and planning. And because it's such a stark change, and it doesn't come with the recommendation of the Halls Road Improvement Committee, it's just going to get mired. For example, in the, you know, the opening paragraphs, it notes that, and there's a lot of shalls in there. There's a lot of reviews that are, you know, zoning commission reviews, for example, for even rehabilitation. And, you know, the 80% the first floor should be retail. The maximum distance, I think, of any new build is 10 feet from the road. So there's not the flexibility to either, you know, do what's happening now or move closer to the road, which I would encourage. But that was my point, was coming out of this, you know, I talked about in July having at least the recommendation come from the committee, and that's not what happened. And again, mea culpa, looking at these things, it's very, very restrictive. So.
Well, I mean, right now it's so restrictive that you can't even put it in residential. So I think that the intent of the zoning regulations was to follow what the master plan was recommending. And that's why it shows up the way it does. I've had some people say, oh, 80%, it should be more than that. So there's different opinions. I think
that's why okay, but now it's going to be taken up by the zoning commission, and these conversations, unfortunately, again, mea culpa, if there had been, you know, official approve or don't approve, that's fine. But now it's going to become public, because I don't know that the public was presented with these zoning regs at either of our presentations that we did, you know, in the town hall. It was simply the story.
Didn't have it, you know, I mean, we didn't have any regs yet.
No, I know. So that means now the public is just about to find out what the regs are. Nobody else knows about them except for the Halls Road Improvement Committee.
As soon as we submitted the application in September, and then we did our presentation in October.
Right.
So if you wanted to read the actual final regs recommendations, it would be available through Dan Beret.
I have 2 points. One,
This is Howard.
the application was filed by the Board of Selectmen on behalf of the town. So they took our material, we did a presentation, I presume they've reviewed it, and they filed the application on part of the town. We're only a recommending body. So
Yeah, but we didn't recommend it, Howard. That's my point.
Well, we did by default because nobody answered. You specifically made a good point of, we need to share this with the committee. We shared it with the committee. No one responded beyond Howard. And, you know, I'm sorry that if you were, you know, we're all really busy. There's a lot to be done in all of our lives. And perhaps we're too busy to spend the time to look at it, but we were reacting to your request and sent it to you and then never heard back. So I was a little confused why we didn't hear back. And I would have loved to have heard more from you if you really wanted to get involved in it. And now you're coming to me at the last minute saying, this is too late, we never approved it.
Oh, no, I'm just observing that. I'm just observing that now those comments are going to be made at the zoning commission. And again, deemed approval in committees, that's a weird way to do things. Sending out an email and saying, please approve. And then if you don't hear back from anybody, there's no vote taken. So it's different than actually having an approval vote. So I would observe that. But all I'm saying, Edie, is we are where we are right now.
Sure,
And
yeah.
so my point is that if we want to get something done, you got to be prepared for some significant comments at the zoning commission. And I do think just objectively taking a look at things, that it is very restrictive and people are going to have a lot to say about it. That's
Well, I'm not sure how restrictive it is, but I think the zoning commission has had over a month to look at it. And when we presented, they already knew what was in that. And they didn't
Wait, the zoning
have any
commission got
issues with that
the
so
variance?
far. Now, it may happen in the next meeting. I'm sure things will keep, and I'm happy to, you know, I feel as though we did our best shot at providing language for the zoning committee to work with. And it was a
Okay.
big document to put together. And we had professionals working on it that are used to doing this kind of thing. I'm not, you know, it wasn't my zoning plans. It was the BSC's recommendations. And we worked with Dan Beret to some extent to get his feedback about things.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've done what we've done. So here we are. And there's another meeting coming up in November. And that's the time when the public should be talking about what they do or don't want to see in it.
As far as the public is concerned, these are public hearings. The one was yesterday, and the next one is a continuation of that. So the
Yeah.
public has plenty of opportunity.
Yeah,
But I will say the public thinks that what we're doing for changes are the things that they see out on the poster board, that it's going to be lighting and sidewalk and that kind of thing. I'm on historic district commission or committee, and we talked about this, and I see what they are trying to regulate just on Lime Street and how complex that is. And when I was looking over some of these, and I agree with Dave, it is so much and
it
such
is.
an
It's a big
astronomical.
change. It is a big
It
change.
is a huge change, and to kind of monitor, I don't know how, at what point does this change over to another whole board to monitor this?
Well,
So
process
there's
is-
the zoning commission would be the monitor, and they would have a design review committee, as I presented to your group too, the Historic District Commission. And that's, yes, this is as big a change as it was when they opened up the idea of making Halls Road a commercial district only. This is changing it. That's
Right.
definitely true. It's definitely going to be a change. But the goal here is to follow the recommendations of the master plan and get to that point. And the real delicate point here is, yes, it's great to introduce residential here, but we don't want to lose our commercial area. That's why some of the wording in the document talks about setbacks and percentages, because we want to make sure we don't end up with a residential developer coming in who just wants to do residential, doesn't really care about the town's needs, and starts building residential
Well,
units all along Halls
But
Road.
then how do you control that? Because, you know, we had a similar incident in town where there was going to be a big development, and you saw how difficult that was in so many ways.
Where is
and-
this?
So it's a process, and we go
I'm
through-
talking about the Hope housing project. That was a big developer. that was
Affordable
gonna-
housing, yeah.
That would come in and do something like that.
Well,
Like, how are you going?
So
to-
the reason that there are the restrictions in the zoning language that we have is to make sure that we can maintain our commercial area above all other things.
Right.
That's why we're asking to have retail on the first floor, 80%, so there's enough room to get upstairs through a staircase. But it would be retail on the first floor of Halls Road. 60 feet back, it can become residential units. And, you know, that actually adds to the town's tax base. It's a profit for the town, but it's all based on what a developer can do. And that's why the language is written very specifically to try and make sure that we've covered the things that we need to cover. So we don't want to have big residential units up against Falls Road. That's just not what we're looking for. We're looking for a town center that, you know, can have some apartments and townhouses, but not giant residential units.
So one final thing, and then I do apologize. I've got to bow out, but for one example though, and again, I want something to happen. I want the regs to change. I want a little bit more flexibility, and I think we should be prepared in the next month and really get some good feedback on the nitty gritty of the language that's now been presented, because it is relatively fresh, right?
Yep.
The public has not seen, it's not on the town website, right? For the proposed regs.
I asked Dan about that. He said you can call him up or write to him and he'll send you.
But every.
I agree. I thought it should have been public, but it's available. It's just not
yeah.
immediate.
But
Nobody's hiding the public.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I'm saying we are right now at a point where people are just now taking a look at the language, right?
That's right. Yep.
And that's as of like 2 nights ago. So it's relatively new to the public.
Yep.
It is
Right.
based upon the master plan. So that's fine. But the master plan, you know, didn't say that there would be certain restrictions like 80% retail. This is the one example I want to leave you with, just to think about what people may say. What about like a storefront insurance business? What about, you know, an accountant who might be there? Is that retail? So when you, again, it is complicated and
Well, you know what, if you could write down the questions you have, that would be great. I was just in a planning meeting before this meeting, and there were a couple of questions that came up, were very valid questions that we need to make sure we include.
Yeah, so,
you know,
so-
one, we need to have a restriction on hours in the district, because we don't want people having bars open till 3 or 4 in the morning. And the other was, you know, we tried to follow the Soundview Village District to some degree, and it includes hotels and motels. And the person said, you know, I don't think having a motel on Halls Road is a good idea. We should strike that from the list. So these are all things that need to be vetted and understood and changed and added to. So I think that's where we are today. And I'd love would give me.
I will do that. I will send to the committee the comments, the very discrete comments that I've got that I think people will bring up. I think the uses are fine, but I think the process is very restrictive. And I do think that when you take a look at the setbacks, it basically forces anybody who wants to tear down a building, if they want to build new, they've got to be 10 feet, you know, from the streetscape and that sort of thing. And so that
was done to try and follow what the master plan was recommending. So
right, but the master plan didn't say that everybody had to do that no matter what, and it has, you know, connectivity to the street and that sort of thing. But there's I will enumerate those tomorrow quickly for everybody to be prepared for them, because there are some obvious big ones that I do, and I may have personal feelings about them too, which I'll note. But others that just are going to prompt, you know, some sort of retort or why is this, you know? So, so I promise that I will do that. And that's why I wanted to talk to you. You know, I was going to just listen tonight and talk to you a little bit offline, Edie, about that. But so that's what I'll do. Okay.
That'd be useful.
Okay.
And we did go through this pretty extensively with Dan too. So I think even the 2 examples you addressed, we've discussed, you know, professionals, accountants, I think.
Were those in
There is
meetings,
a provision for
They're
that.
part of a business.
Was that in July and August, the meetings that I missed when Dan came in and discussed?
No, there's a subcommittee where Dan, of the zoning subcommittee.
Okay.
And also.
Yeah, I guess Dan,
we're also,
yeah. I'm sorry, Howard. Yeah.
So some of those things have been addressed, and as Edie said, yes, it's a big change. It is complicated, and we do anticipate that there'll be amendments to it. And that's why you have this process and the public, hearing. So we had one, there'll be a continuation. The zoning, I'm sure what happened too is the zoning meeting started at 6:30, I guess didn't end till 11 o'clock at night. And
Yeah.
I'm sure, they weren't in the mood to go through the nitty gritty of the regulations. So I'm sure that will come and the public will have the ability to voice an opinion, and so will anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically the direction of the zoning language was based on trying to promote a village district that would be buildings with retail along the street, so we don't lose our retail. Retail along the street is a far more productive way to, I mean, the main thing we hear from the business owners on the shopping centers is nobody knows we're here. Nobody drives down in here unless they're going to the big Y. So when you have it right along the street, you get their signage, you get to know who's on that street. And that's a main reason that we're trying to get it so that you bring the buildings up to the street and you park behind. So that's the gist of the master plan.
Yeah, I guess to compel that though means that you have to have twice the rents that you're getting right now. If someone's going to tear down their building and the only thing they can do is
Well, you can
put it
get
up
a
against
bigger
the street.
building, you can get residential in there, which is far more productive right now in this circumstances than it is retail. Retail is dying. I mean, retail is, bricks and mortar.
If retail is dying, then why
Yeah.
compel 80% of the space to be dedicated to retail? So
Just-
I get your
just
point.
like-
I get your point.
Just like
get
when
your
they
point.
built Halls Road, they made sure no more new retail could happen on Lime Street, so they could force people to open up businesses on Halls Road. It's the same kind of attitude, and that's what gave us the strip centers. And back then, strip centers were a good thing. Now, walking down streets filled with parking lots is not as appealing.
No, you're
People
preaching to the
found-
choir there, but yeah. I'm getting into the nitty gritty of what's actually being required of people now going forward if this were to pass.
Yeah,
So anyway, yeah, I think I've said what I was going to say. We are where we are. We need to be prepared next month to answer questions. And
That's
I'm
right.
very happy as a real estate, commercial real estate person to put those together so that, you've got the benefit of Dan, you've got the subcommittee, but somebody who can react and say, man, why would I go through this pain? Or this is a good thing, that sort of thing, because there are some good things in there. Again, the uses I think are those are good uses that have been included in there. So great.
yeah.
Okay, so I do have to drop off. I appreciate it very much, and we'll talk very shortly, and I'll send that email probably tomorrow. Okay.
Great. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. Okay.
Okay.
Ciao. Bye.
Bye. So I have to stop my recording.
Yeah, I don't know.